Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please put your hands together for the director of Dawn of the Dead, 300, Watchmen, and now Man of Steel, Mr. Zack Snyder! How you doing, sir? Thank you so much. Awesome. You got a microphone and... Now, Zack, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for creating a Superman film that finally feels like the comics I've been reading for 30-odd years. What was it that you wanted to do with this film?
Hey, guys.
Oh, sorry.
How you doing? I guess the main thing I wanted to do was sort of take the idea of Superman and imagine a point of view where you could sort of look through Superman's eyes, sort of feel what he feels. That was the most important thing to me because I felt like in the past, in some of the other movies or whatever, he's been treated a little bit, in an aloof way, like you couldn't really understand the why of him, and that's really what we try to do. And also, I wanted him to beat the shit out of some people. So.
Which he does most spectacularly. As I said to these guys before, it's the most astonishing action superhero stuff that I've seen on screen ever. Was that what you aimed for? You said, I need to raise the bar?
I mean, it wasn't like we said, oh, this is like specifically it has to be at a certain level, but I just think it was sort of inherent to like what we were doing. Once he starts fighting, you realize that you're at this crazy scale because of what he can do.
There's a giant U behind you.
It's frightening.
Now, of course, this is your time. If you've got a question, raise a hand. I will come running to you. I see two already, so here we go.
Hello. You deal with a lot of really big and sort of out of this world themes in this movie. As we see, people, Superman flying, there's explosions, intergalactic fights. Was there ever a time on set when you sort of had to bring it back and sort of ground it in humanity?
No, there's a lot. I mean, the movie is really, in the end, about that. It's really about the human man that is inside of Superman. Like, he's raised in Kansas, the man that is still wanting to be accepted by this planet, and how he struggles with the same things we struggle with. It's really, in a lot of ways, that's what it's about more than anything. So yeah, absolutely. It's a scale thing that maybe because also I'm sort of used to working with visual effects, I think, and it allowed, because you're not worrying about how are you going to make that happen from a visual effects standpoint. It allows you to keep in mind what's happening with the characters, because I think that's always a dangerous thing because of the complexity that we had to deal with. But yeah, no, absolutely.
Hello, Zack. Thanks for coming down under. Great to see you. My question is, how was it working with Christopher Nolan and his wife? They co-produced the film with you and your wife. And can you talk about the power couple lunch that you had to convince you to take the project on?
Yeah, I got a call from Chris and Emma, and they were like, hey, you want to have lunch? And then the last thing Chris said was like, oh, I'm going to talk about Superman. Is that cool? Because if you don't want to talk about Superman, I'm fine not to, but we just have this thing we want to talk about. I said, okay, yeah, no, Superman's cool. I'm happy to talk about Superman. And then during the lunch, we just kind of, kicked around just sort of our basic ideas about what we thought Superman was about and the pluses and minuses of him and all that. And then Chris kind of said, okay, well, David and I have been working on this idea, and it's, this. And he kind of pitched me a little bit of it. And I thought, just from that initial conversation, that it was super cool. Not to put super in that. I did that by accident, so don't. And I do that a lot by accident, so don't. Anyway, so then they sent the script over a little while later, and the next day, and we read it, and it was I mean, it's insane. And the scale was insane. I thought it was fantastic. And then, we really just set about like trying to figure out how to do it. And the thing that's amazing is Chris is been an amazing producer on the movie because he said to me, he goes, Zach, Hollywood makes two kinds of movies. They make movies by committee, and they make filmmaker movies. And he goes, I'm really not interested in these like movies by committee. They suck. And he's like, the best movies, my favorite movies are, where you can feel the personality of the director, and it's all about that. And so once I sort of pitched him my vision for the film, and he was like, that's amazing, he's really became an incredible defender of the way I wanted to do the movie. And I think that was the most powerful thing that he did, working on the movie, for me anyway. He has a lot of power at the studio, as you can imagine, so he was really able to like keep everyone off my back. It's really awesome.
Hi, Zach. Just wanted to ask, given Superman's super speed that he has, in past movies we've seen all the action sequences sort of slowed down so the audience can see it, but I can see from the trailers that you have some sequences where it is at super speed. What challenges did you face in trying to make those action sequences?
Yeah, I think that the main thing that we try to do is that if you think about just initially sort of the concept of how we were going to make the movie, I wanted to try and make the movie in the most realistic way I could, because I felt like Superman is already this fantastical being. He does impossible stuff. So the more sort of embellished the photography is, the further away he gets from you, because it's just more style on top of style. And I felt like if I could shoot the movie in a way where it seemed almost hard to photograph, like when he's flying or whatever, we tried to make it so that that's not an easy thing to film. If you can imagine trying to film Superman flying Mach 5 or whatever, and the camera's constantly vibrating or whatever, that was the idea. And so in the action sequences, there's a lot of we tried to put the camera in a place where you could see the action, but a lot of times, you're seeing the action, and then suddenly those characters just fly out of frame, and they then you have to jump to another to catch them coming in, rather than where the camera links onto them and we fly up with them and crash back down. And there's some. It was really about sort of that almost like war correspondent version of those kind of fights. And I think it really, when they do move fast, it then becomes shocking because they're so fast that you realize that to fight them is impossible. But yeah.
It's a big privilege to have you here in Australia at Supanova, and thank you for coming too. Just a quick question. What advice can you give to somebody starting in the film industry?
And is it you?
Yeah, I'm only 5 months into my course.
Oh, great. And you want to be a director or?
Camera operator,
Sure.
maybe directing.
Oh, great. Well, I would say that for me anyway, when I was in film school, I think that the thing that I feel like was the most beneficial for me was you really the most important thing is to shoot as much as you can and shoot anything you can. Like if your friends have a project, if you want to be a camera operator or a DP or whatever, just do as much as you can. Because I think that people often, get caught up in this concept of, waiting for the film business to come find you. And as you can imagine, that's not really going to happen that way. So it's better to go be proactive. And and I always say, if you want to be a director, just shoot something. Write a story, shoot it. Get your friends, film it. Doesn't matter what it is, just film it. Because then you've done it, and then you're going to want to do it again and again and again, and you're going to find that your point of view is really what it's all about. If you have a way of seeing that's you, that's your way of doing it, and no one else has that. So that's an amazing thing, and you have to use that.
Afternoon, sir.
Hello.
Who do you think would win in a fight between Dr. Manhattan and your version of Superman?
Dr. Manhattan for sure would win. I mean, there's like, are you serious? That's crazy. Like it's, yeah.
Hi there, Zach. Thanks for coming. I wanted to ask, over here.
There you are.
Down here. Stand up.
Oh, there you go.
Your versions of like 300 and Watchmen, and I can't wait to see Superman. No other directors really brought the page so truly to the movie. How's your process completely different to everyone else's? Because they never manage it, and you do.
I guess for me, I'm a bit of a fan, so I guess, and those particular, I mean, Watchmen particularly, and 300, and are graphic novels, and there's, you know, I mean, they were released as a series, of course, but it's a single idea and a single storyline that has a beginning, middle, and an end, and I really feel like in order to honor that, just as you would any novel, if I was doing, you know, any work of literature, no one would ask me that question, which I feel like I have to defend outside of a place like this. I slightly have to defend, you know, the idea that I treat, you know, these graphic novels with the same reverence as you would any other kind of novel. It just happens that there's drawings in the thing as well. So instead of just this description that's on the page that's describing the scene, I get a picture too. So it seems weird not to try and include that as much as you can.
Hi, Zach. In this movie, we see his costume to be a bit darker and there's no, you know, red underwear and all that stuff. Is there any particular reason why you changed such an iconic outfit?
Well, yeah, there's a few reasons. One was that, and I love the underwear personally. I honestly do. I tried hard to get the underwear. I would like tell the costume designers like, okay, we got to try a version with the underwear though. And they show it to me and I go like, wow, that's underwear, isn't it? Okay. Let's try it one more time. Let's take another look at it. And the truth is that for me, once we made the costume cultural, like we did not do the version where Martha sewed the costume out of the blanket version. We wanted the costume to be cultural to Krypton. And once we did that, and when they're on Krypton, you see like everyone has a version of the skin suit on. They like that's like a thing that exists within Kryptonian culture. And so I just felt like once you do that, then you would add a whole planet of people who had their underwear on the outside of their pants, which is possible. You know, it's fashion, right? Like, who knows? They probably think ties are crazy on Krypton. But I just felt like it was a little bit harder from that point of view to keep it. And I just, and as far as the darkness goes, it's just cooler to me that it's a little bit darker, that's all. How's that?
Hi, Zach, how you doing? Just wanting to know if you could pick one Superman villain from the entire catalog of amazing villains, who would you pick and why?
Well, I picked Zod for the movie because he is, for a first battle, you can imagine, like the equal of Superman physically, right? Can be. And so you have this kind of real challenge to him from a real physical. You can imagine there'd be a progression for different guys, you know, in the sort of chess move world, which is also cool. But yeah, I guess for me, really my favorite, well, honestly, Lex is my favorite. But, you know, you'll have to wait and see if there's, you guys haven't seen the movie yet, so I keep forgetting.
Hi, Zach. I just want to talk to you about the score.
Yeah.
Like, no lie, first time I saw that trailer, I cried, bawled like a little baby, and it's hard to beat John Williams. And what's the creative process behind that? Like, what did you and Hans Zimmer did?
Yeah, I guess what we did is, you know, even when we made the movie, we said, okay, we have to pretend like those movies don't exist because you can't cherry pick like, ooh, that'd be cool just to use the score because it makes you think like, oh wait, so somehow those universes are linked and that world exists within this world, or I don't know. So we just said, okay, there's no music, there's no images, let's just pretend like we found the comic books under our bed and we're like, hey, let's make this into a movie. So that was how we started. And then when I sat with Hans, he was petrified by the frickin' thing, as you should be, as I was. And we just talked a lot about sort of this humility that we were trying to get in the score. Like there's like this, I always felt like, Superman is this massively powerful hero, but he's also very humble. Like he's not about glory, for himself. And that was really where Hans jumped off of, and I think that really comes through in an amazing way in the score, and I couldn't be happier with what he did. It's insane. It's so awesome.
Yo. Hey, man. Film student as well. I want to ask 2 questions, if that's okay. Any advice? Oh, okay. Any advice for a director that kind of supports piracy?
Give me that. You only get one question.
I don't know how to answer that. Who kind of supports piracy? I'm trying to understand what's the benefit of piracy from that point of view. Is it that you can then see a bunch of stuff so that you can learn from it? Oh, for independent film. Oh, so that you can get your movie seen and not go through the machine. No, right. Well, I mean, in that case, as long as you're not pirating my movies, I really think it's a great idea. No, that's cool. I feel like, listen, I mean, in truth, it's like, what is that Warner Herzog thing about, like, does steal the film? It doesn't matter. You just fucking make your movie. Like, kill people if you have to. Get the cameras. Like, steal cars. Whatever it takes, right? That's like his. I endorse a slightly more legal version of that, probably that concept. But I do believe that it is like you can't. If you're really into it, you're just going to do it. There's no way to stop you. I'm sure I'd be homeless if I wasn't doing this job, because it's kind of like, you're kind of all in, right? So yeah, I'd say, like I said before, I think that if that passion is there, if that truly is like to the point of that you would break the law to make your movie, then that's right. Then that's correct. I think that's correct.
Okay, over here in the center.
Hey, Zach. I just wanted to start off. I also wear my underpants on the inside, and I think it's pretty cool.
It looks good.
Thank you. There's obviously a huge catalog of reference material for Superman out there in terms of comic books. I was just wondering, is there anything in particular that you kind of used in developing the movie?
Use specifics. I think we were pretty. When you see the movie, it's very much loyal to the canon. Really, I was strict with the canon. The studio, of course, is a little less. They were a little less like, why? Why does it have to be Kansas? Why can't it be Chicago? Why does it have to be, Jonathan and Martha? Why can't it be, whatever? On and on. Every keystone was put into some question. And for me, it was like, no, that's the Bible, that's the rules, right? That's how, if we're going to do Superman, these are the rules. So you have to, we can fuck around a little bit with the costume and stuff, but you got to be careful. Still got to be Superman, right? Like when you look at Superman, I always said, like when you look at him, no one can say, oh, I think that's the Superman I think that's his costume, right? Like, yeah, it kind of looks like, where I always, from the beginning, was like, it's got to be Superman instantly. There's no two ways about it. And I think that was the rule. That was the rule that I applied to every bit of it. And I think when you see the film and you have this in mind about like the canon over time, you'll see that it is definitely greatest hits of like, we definitely dorked out on it. I'm not going to say exactly, but you're going to see that it's pretty stupid as far as, I just think as far as, including what I would consider slightly obscure to, overt stuff. But you'll see. I think you'll get a good sense of it when you see it.
Good morning, Zach. My question is, you're renowned as a visionary director. Who's your favorite visionary director?
I grew up on the good stuff. I grew up on well, first of all, I'm a big Star Wars fanatic, as you know. Yeah, who's not? That's just like 101. You can't get in the door into this place unless you. I remember I was at Comic-Con and we were walking in, and there was like 2 X-wing pilots, and there was a guy who said, look at those Ghostbusters, and I was like, what the are you talking about? Someone get this guy out of here. Are you kidding me? I go, come here. Are you kidding me? I will hurt you. So anyway, but I guess, and then from then I started to really, but then it's you're talking about they came pretty fast and pretty awesome in that, after Close Encounters and Superman and Alien and on, right? And so, but then, I started to really, there's that early Brian De Palma stuff that I really loved, and I started to love, Martin Scorsese at that time, and still, but those guys, I guess for me, those kind of Coppola's Apocalypse Now is one of my favorite movies, that stuff really, those kind of 70s Mavericks were really the guys that made me go yeah, that's awesome, that's how you do it.
Zach, again, welcome to Australia. With the success of Marvel's Avengers movies, are you seeing Your Man of Steel being the first movie in what would hopefully become a Justice League series, with again with you directing and Chris Nolan producing?
Nice, I like that. Nice, very, very specific. Listen, I'd be like a liar if I said that, oh no, we really just intended this as a single film. It was not. No, by no means did we mean to continue this. This was it's a movie. No, my hope was, and I've said on numerous occasions, that there's no way to do a Justice League movie unless Superman works. You just can't do it. Superman, without Superman, the Justice League is BS. It's no way to do it. And really my goal was to get Superman established, and then you could start to talk about, I think, a world where, other things exist, other characters, There's reference in the film, small though it might be, to other DC properties that I put in there, but really just as a way to say, hey, it's a big world. That's all I have to say about that.
Hi, Zach. Thanks for this.
Oh, there you are.
Just a quick question. You've got such an iconic character there, and you've got obviously a massive fan base. How do you marry your vision for the character and for the movie while still honouring the expectation of your audience?
Yeah, it's a good question, but I think you just have to. I think that's why it's hard for the movie to get made by sort of a non-fan, I guess is my point of view, is that for me, I really just make the movie going what do I want to see? What do I think would be cool? Because you can't really make a movie for someone else. That's really hard to do. You can't go I think people would like this. There's a good chance that that's a huge disaster. And so that's really the kind of way I approached it. I have to just call bullshit on myself all the time, and whether or not that makes, when we do something or, make a design decision or whatever, I really just have to, evaluate it from the point of view of what I think would be cool or not. And I just think that's the only way you could do it. You can't put it before the committee or you're screwed. They'll be you'll end up with a corporate logo instead of a.
Hi, Zach. Thanks for coming to Australia. I'm a big fan of yours, especially the movie 300. I've got a 300 and a Superman question. What was it like working with Gerard Butler, and was Henry your first choice to play Superman?
Well, Gerard Butler is he was awesome, and it was super fun to work with him. He was very enthusiastic to play the part and did an amazing job. We shot that movie in Montreal, Canada, and it was freezing cold. So even though we all looked like we were, not well clothed. I mean, I was clothed, but those guys were not. They were all freezing their asses off, and they just put their head down and did the work, which was really cool. And as far as Henry goes, Henry was my first choice. I really wanted Henry from the beginning. We brought him over, and we had this. We didn't have our costume yet, so we had the Christopher Reeves costume that they brought over from archives, and I looked at it, and it's literally when it's not full of a human, it's a spandex costume in a cardboard box that looks, it's slightly shriveled up. I mean, I don't want to describe it in any more graphic way than that, but it's not a beautiful thing, other than that it's historically significant. You're like, oh my God, that's awesome. And then you think about, we're going to put it on him, and then it gets scary again. So, but then the guys from archives were like, oh, you can't touch that. I thought you wanted to look at it. I'm like, no, we want to put it on Henry. They're like, no, sorry. That's back to the museum. But they did let us have the pattern. So we sewed an exact copy of it. And we put that on Henry. And the thing is that the thing that's awesome about the costume is, even when you see it's all shriveled up and it looks horrible, when you put it on, like Henry put it on, and it's kind of like the difference between, for me anyway, it was like the difference between, like, if you see someone dressed like Superman at a costume party, and you think, oh, that's cute, you're dressed like Superman, that's cool, that's a cool costume. You kind of look like Superman. And then Henry put the costume on, and he was standing there, and we were all like, oh, look, there's Superman. It's like a different, you have a different reaction to it. And it was really kind of this special moment that we all were like, okay, that's our guy. He's awesome. So yeah, no, it was really cool.
Hi, Zach. Obviously, one of the other guests here is Margaret Kidder from the original films. Do you feel your film will have, stand up to the original films in the eyes of the fans?
I feel like in my heart, I love those movies. I love the '78 movie. It's an amazing film. It's really it's the predecessor to, it's the first superhero movie, really. And it's really the first, tentpole blockbuster concept movie. And it's really with an all-star cast and just this kind of thing that is now so common. And that movie goes in the vault of all-time movies. And I just think that, look, you can only make a movie hoping that it works out and that it's okay and that everyone, kind of likes it. You can only make it for yourself, like I said. So, it would be awesome if the movie had the legs that movie has, because that movie is just amazing. So, yeah, no, I honor that 100%.
Hi, Zach. I've got a three-part question for you. To Superman 1-300. First of all, Superman, when you were developing your movie, did you look at what was being done with the character on Smallville? Number two, when you developed the technology and architecture of Krypton, why did you decide to move away from the crystalline element or the crystal idea? And for 300, given the fact that the great movie, by the way, you did a fantastic job. Given the fact that the mini-series was only 5 issues, did you have to research additional material for it?
What was the first one again? Something about...
I'm not even going to let him out.
Yeah, Smallville. Yeah, no, we didn't look at Smallville at all. I mean, I know I'm very familiar with the show, and it's an awesome show. But again, it's just like the movies. We just said, okay, let's pretend like they haven't shot anything. Because I think once you start looking at that stuff, especially Smallville, which is like a 10-year-long soap opera that has It's insane. I mean, it's great, but it's crazy the amount of characters, and I guess they all, ended up in Smallville. It's awesome, but we really just were like, okay, you can't do that, because you'll go nuts. And also we were going for this, what I would say is, and when you see the film, it's a very sort of a slightly realistic, world view. And what was the other Superman guy? Anyway.
The 300. Hang on.
Oh, technology.
Crystalline.
Crystalline technology. Yeah. Yeah. And then 300.
This is why we don't do three-part questions, sir.
And then 300 is, we did a little bit of there was a guy named Herodotus who wrote some history, so we looked at that a little bit and made it a little bit longer.
This is going to have to be our last question, right up the back, sir.
What?
Oh, if you want another one, you can have another one.
No, it's all good.
Hi, Zach.
Hello.
Welcome to Australia. I've been a big fan of yours since Dawn of the Dead. I was just wondering, what was it like working with Christopher Nolan on Man of Steel? Because he was executive producer. I was wondering what the experience with him was like.
Chris is great. He's really, he's incredibly kind with his time. Remember that he was shooting Dark Knight Rises at the exact same time we were shooting Man of Steel. And so I didn't really see him during the shoot. I'd seen him when we were working on the script, and we worked on the script together. And then he went off to shoot Dark Knight Rises, and I went off to shoot this. We just have, he had like 600 visual effects shots in Dark Knight Rises, and I have like almost 2,000 in this movie, so it took us a little longer to get it done. But he's super cool. He's a great guy, and he, like I said before, though, he's very adamant that like the movie be my movie, and he was very intense with everyone about making sure that no one effed with my way of doing it, which was it's fun. I think it's just because he's a director, and he knows how he would want to be treated, and so it makes it really fun. And he doesn't second guess anything. He doesn't he's not like over your shoulder going, really? I don't know. Oh, really? So yeah, it was really great. And he's a good friend, so it's good fun.
Thank you so much, Zach. Now, do you need a drink? Are you okay?
Yeah, I just choked on my coffee a little bit.
That's okay. Well, look, thank you so much from this crowd and from myself who have seen the film, and for all of you who are about to see the film, thank you so much for making the Superman that we've been wanting to see for a very long time.
Thanks, guys.
And thank you so much for 300, Watchmen, Sucker Punch, everything that you have made. Ladies and gentlemen, please go completely crazy for the fantastic Mr. Zack Snyder!